special guest today. There's a brother, Dr. Ford, who is out of Tennessee, if I'm not mistaken, and he is going to come in and he's going to talk about some reparations initiatives. There he is, Dr. Edmund Ford. Okay, let me see if I can invite Dr. Ford in here. Here we go. Dr. Ford, you've been promoted to panelist. I don't know what happens when that button is hit, but I assume you're going to magically appear somewhere on the screen at some point or pop in. And so it looks like he's there, and so I'm gonna hit the button to ask you to unmute. And then there we go. There he is. How you doing, man?
Good evening, Dr. Watkins. How are you doing today?
Good to see you. Good to see you. Now, are you a little tired? Have you had a long day?
Oh, it's been a long day. I did not even get any sleep. I watched every station just to see what reasons and excuses they were going to make for folks not winning the race and everything. So I've come up with my own analyses, but we can talk about that later.
Well, you know what? It was interesting, right? Yeah, me and my wife were up till about probably about midnight, and then I think we went to sleep. And by the time we went to sleep, it looked like it looked like we were pretty much done for the day, and I looked like Trump was going to win, and I was very surprised that it was settled so quickly. Now you, Dr. Ford, before we even begin the conversation, I want everybody to say hi to Dr. Ford. Say hello, Dr. Ford, in the chat so we can let him know, how much love we have for good brothers in our community. And Dr. Ford, can you tell everybody real quick what you do?
So in the city of Memphis, I'm the senior financial literacy coordinator for the city of Memphis public library system, and I'm also uh, a member of the Shelby County Board of Commissioners. This is my second term, and prior to that, I was on the Memphis City Council for 11 and a half years.
Okay. Now Memphis, that's an interesting city. You guys appear in the national media a lot. You
Mhm.
got some interesting shenanigans with the rappers down there. Is that? But I'm just curious. So you have the thing where the rapper, in case y'all don't know, in case y'all don't keep up, there was Young Dolph who got killed, and then the brother of Yo Gotti, Jook or something like that. Is that stuff still happening, or has that kind of been dealt with? Or does the city even care? Like, how do they respond to that type of stuff?
You know, when you watch the news in the city of Memphis, you might have enough time to see the sports and the weather, but the other 20 minutes of the news is who shot who robbed who killed who. And it's unfortunate, but I believe that the people in the city of Memphis have been desensitized to all of those things, which is unfortunate. So what I try to do in my capacities is to try to uplift people and to tell people that, look, they're beautiful, they're wonderful. Um, we don't have to have that news, that legacy media dictate who we are as Black people.
Mm. Well, I hear that. I hear that. So let's start with what everybody's talking about. Everybody's talking about the presidential election, and Dr. Ford, just out of just I hope you don't mind me mentioning you have a cousin that's kind of a well-known senator, Harold, correct?
Yes, he served in the House from 2000, no, from 1996 to '06. He ran for Senate in 2006 and lost by 1%.
Okay, okay.
And now he's a moderator on the Five on Fox News every other day.
Okay, okay, great. And so you're involved in the politics in Memphis. And so I'd be curious to know, let's just start with the big picture, the presidential election. What intrigued you the most about this recent election in terms of the outcome, the events running up to the election, things like that?
So I'm a numbers person. So when I started looking at how the map was coming out and how some of the numbers that they compared and contrasted to what President Biden got 4 years ago, what Hillary Clinton got 8 years ago, and what President Obama got prior to that, I noticed that Kamala was not getting the numbers that President Biden was getting. And it was going to be very difficult for her to make up ground or sustain the ground. Um, what I noticed was when Pennsylvania was not looking too good, it looked like the rest of that so-called blue wall was going to crumble. So when you started looking at the numbers, and I'm a numbers person, you can ask anybody that knows me locally. If it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense, and if it doesn't add up, I got to look at the figures. So when I started looking at those numbers come in so quickly, or I started looking at how she was not going to be able to mathematically make the numbers. I thought that President Trump was probably, well, he's President-elect Trump, about to be President Trump again, that he was going to win. I didn't think it was going to take till 4:30 a.m. for everybody to state that he was going to win. I thought it was going to be a little bit later, but I noticed that not only did he win electorally, he also got the popular vote as well. So there were a lot of people. And Dr. Watkins, you know, you and I talked about this to where at the All Black National Convention, you had a lot of people that stated that they were not a big fan of Trump, but they were also not a big fan of the Democratic Party as well. And those dynamics exist, and I don't think people understand that you just can't look at one particular subset. You have to look at a large subset when it comes to anything. And that's where we were at the end of the day.
Mm. Okay, so yeah, I mean, I have my own opinion about it, and I've shared enough of that, and I don't think that that matters as much anymore. I personally just lean on the fact that the studies show that in terms of quality of life, as it relates to let's say economics anyway, that that vote who you vote for doesn't seem to make as much of a difference as what you're doing in your personal life. The Asian community shows that they don't even vote hardly at all, and they're doing very well economically now. Maybe you get in other areas, criminal justice and things like that. Obviously, who's elected for what makes a difference. It seems like to me, and tell me what you think about this, Dr. Ford. It seems like those local
Sure.
elections matter more than the national elections anyway, in terms of what affects our lives. Would you agree?
I agree. It's unfortunate that some people think that the only elections are the ones that are divisible by four, and that's not the case. You have several school board races, you have city council races, you have alderman races, you have county commission races, you have county mayor races, you have city commission races, you have city mayor races. I haven't missed an election since I turned 18. I tell people that a lot of your politics is local because much of the money and many of the laws that are passed locally are going to affect you in so many capacities more than the elections that happen every 4 years. So I tell people, look, I'm not going to tell you how to vote, but just make sure that you exercise your right to vote.
Okay. And so I saw you at the All Black National Convention, and you were telling me about some initiatives on reparations that you're pursuing down in Memphis. It sounded like a victory, a hard-fought victory. So can you tell us about what's going on with that?
Absolutely. And Dr. Watkins, you're right. It still has a few trials and tribulations, but I'll just give a quick timeline. So in February 2023, I was the primary sponsor of legislation to study reparations in Memphis and Shelby County. And I was fortunate to have every Black elected official on the county commission sign off as a sponsor as well. The makeup of the county commission currently is majority Black, majority female, and it's 8-5, and it is 9 Democrat, 4 Republican. So each one of the Black commissioners did sign off, and that vote actually went Black-white. It went 8-5, but as long as you get to 7, that's all that matters at the end of the day. So that happened in February 2023. Then April 2023 came around and we created a reparations subcommittee. However, no meetings were held. There's a lady who serves with me who I did not mind giving the torch to for the purposes of having the subcommittee and doing the work. She's a former state representative and she used to be on the county commission before. However, the work was not done. We did not have one meeting, and it was sort of frustrating. We have these rules where if we don't get the work done by August 31st, the committee goes away. But prior to that, Dr. Watkins, we had people in the state of Tennessee, because even though the city of Memphis is a majority Black blue city, I live in a red state. So, at the end of the day, they hear the word reparations. The first thing that some people wanted to do was to pass legislation to say that we don't even want you to even have a thought we don't even want you being in the room to study reparations. So fortunately, last year that item got tabled in the state, so we were able to continue our conversations. So August 31st came, 2023. It came and went, no work got done. So I went to the new chairperson and I informed her because of what's going on in the state. And I want to make sure that we get the ball rolling because we were able to encumber $5 million of American Rescue Act money in order to start the conversation and to come up with actionable items. So we created a racial equity ad hoc committee, which I ended up being the full chair on. I didn't want to wait on anybody because we already lost so many months where we could have done the study and had some actionable items. So December 2023 comes around, had to wait a few more months for the chair to actually put the committee in place. So for everybody that's listening, we already lost about a year to where we could have done some work. So we finally got instituted in January 2024.
Mm.
And what we did was we came up with 5 pillars so that we could figure out how we were going to allocate the $5 million. So from March to June, we had meetings that were held in public and in the community to acquire feedback. And many of the results were people that said that they wanted organizations, Black organizations, who had the resources that could capacity build to receive the funding, whether it's in housing, or whether it's in financial literacy, or whether it's in clinical and mental health. We identified those 5 pillars, and what we ended up doing was we did the work and we were able to come back in June. But before we came back in June, you had the people at the state that wanted to come back and talk about, nope, we want to ban it. We don't want you to talk about it. We don't want you to put any money. You even had some people coming to me saying, if you put this $5 million in place, we're going to pass some legislation to take that $5 million away. And they were talking about some of the state allocation that they were talking about taking away. But it got tabled again because there were several Black elected officials in the state that stated, how are you going to tell people that they can't even have a thought in the room? So it got tabled. So this is where the drama came in. You got 8 Black commissioners that are on the county commission. Only 3 showed up to all the meetings, including myself. I invited everybody, including the white commissioners, the conservative commissioners. I said, look, I want you to see what we're trying to do. This is not a handout, this is a hand up. And I want you to see how this will affect Black people all over. You know, Killer Mike talked about when the Black community does well, the entire community does well. And what we ended up doing was I even went to one of the conservative districts and we ended up talking about it. And I actually made a good friend out of somebody who is a conservative that stated, I understand what you're doing and I can support your initiative. I just have a little issue with the word reparations. So did you have to have it in the legislation? Well, I told her in the 2023 legislation, it was mandatory because people need to know what we're doing. Now, I just want to make sure that the $5 million got passed because Dr. Watkins and everybody else, if we did not get that money passed by December 31st of this year, that money would have gone back to the federal government. So we were on the clock. So on June 17, 2024, I brought the resolution regarding $5 million to fund 5 pillars. And what ended up happening was one of the worst fights in the world. And it wasn't with the white folks, it was with my own folks. The
Mm.
same ones that didn't show up to the original meeting saying, we don't like this, and how are you trying to get this done? They never came to the meetings.
Mm.
So you even had one commissioner that tried to take the $5 million to do something else with it. And I was like, this has nothing to do with racial equity, reparations, or anything else. So I had to fight my own people to make the long story short.
Okay,
But
so
oh, go ahead, Doctor.
well, I was gonna ask you, so okay, so was that the part that frustrated you the most? And you mentioned 5 pillars. What were the 5 pillars?
So the 5 pillars, and I want to make sure because I got my legislation right here. And it's the same copy that I gave you, Dr. Watkins, at the All Black National Convention. So for everybody that's listening, the five pillars are, let me make sure I got it right here. I should know my own legislation, but I've been rewriting things so much to where I just want to make sure that I got the right thing for everybody here. So the five pillars are housing, economic development, financial literacy, criminal justice reentry, and mental health and culturally competent healthcare.
Okay, what was 4 and 5 again?
I'm sorry, I'll go back over it again. So for everybody, housing, economic development, financial literacy, mental health and culturally competent healthcare, and criminal justice and reentry.
Okay. So let me ask you this question, Dr. Ford.
Yes.
First of all, thank you for your effort and thank you for sharing that with us. I appreciate that. I think that the question that I have about this is the following. From what I know about the city of Memphis, I think I saw a stat somewhere where the city's budget was about 800 million, and the school district, I think it's about 1.8 billion or something like that.
That's
Uh,
about right.
so compared to numbers of that size, 5 million, while it's a sizable number, I would get nervous if that's about sort of what that really means for reparations, because what we've gone through just in the city of Memphis alone, in my view, is a $100 billion debt, right? Like 50 billion, some massive number, right? What is the goal of the 5 million? Like, what does that mean that once the 5 million, if the 5 million is allocated, that it's like, okay, you got your reparations, we've made up for the last 400 years, we're good now for the city of Memphis. What does that mean exactly? Is that like a first step to a bigger amount, or what's the long-term plan with that?
So it is the first step of many steps. So my goal before I leave off the county commission is to make sure that we have a dedicated funding source so that all of these pillars, after I'm gone, after other commissioners are gone, are still funded. So since this was some of the pandemic money that came down, I just wanted to make sure that we were able to get at least a sub portion of what was given. So we ended up getting about $182 million. So in order to make sure that we were able to get something done, I just wanted to make
Hmm.
sure that we were able to get the maximum that I was fortunately able to get past, which was $5 million. Because what I want to do is to make sure that each one of those pillars every year, and this is a lofty goal, but hey, you got to start somewhere, is to make sure that there's at least $1 million in each pillar each year. So our goal is to find a dedicated funding source. So we have two branches of government. We do have the Shelby County Board of Commissioners, but we also do have the Memphis City Council as well. So I have talked to some of the city council members on what they could possibly do in order to help us with this initiative. But what we're doing is we're making sure that, for example, some of the organizations that would be receiving some of these monies in order to capacity build would be the Black Coalition of Housing. There's a gentleman that I'm working with that's actually in Chicago who's one of the heads of the Black Coalition of Housing. And the Black Business Association is one of those organizations. There's also an organization called Young Wall Street, which basically goes further and beyond. So anybody that listens to Dr. Watkins and talks about the $5 a day deal, this lady has created something in place to where she wants our youth to be able to do the same things that the people are doing in Wall Street. And I'd be remiss if I said this. So when we put these pillars together and we started putting these organizations in place and charging them with responsibilities, you had one of my colleagues, one of my Black colleagues, and I hate to say this, but I think it's appropriate with the conversation that we're having. She said on public record that Black folks have no business in the stock market, Dr. Watkins.
Hmm.
And this was a Black woman that said that. This was our elder
What
stateswoman that
now, what
said
was she
that.
trying to say when she said that? Like, what was her point?
Well, there was not enough participation, I believe, among my Black commissioners when we put this together. So I know if this was pushed back on, well, he's actually getting it done. So if my name's not on it, I didn't care whose name was on it. I just wanted to make sure that I helped the people that I've been serving for the last 17 years. So I didn't care about credit or anything else. I just wanted my beautiful Black people to be served. And I wanted the people that initially signed off on the legislation in February regarding reparations to embrace this as well. But it was unfortunate that that was not the case. As a matter of fact, the lady that said that Black folks have no business being in the stock market did not even vote on the $5 million being allocated.
Interesting. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so what you're saying is that you led the charge on a very progressive step to get some funds allocated toward these critical areas. And just to summarize, that you mentioned housing. Oh gosh, what was the second one? Education.
The second one was, let me get it back
I
for
can't
you.
even
It
read my own
is,
writing. What was number two, y'all? Y'all gotta help
I
me.
got you. I got you. It is housing, economic
Ec-
development,
Economic development. That's right. Okay.
financial literacy,
Okay.
mental health and culturally competent healthcare,
And criminal
and
justice.
criminal justice and reentry.
Okay, all right. So with those areas, so first of all, I think it's great, right, that you were able to, I mean, get something done. Well, what makes me skeptical, Dr. Ford, about a lot of this is the fact that $5 million is, you know, if you look at the magnitude of the issue, we're talking about $1 trillion issue, right? Multi-trillion dollar issue. 5 million is it's a long way from the amount of financial energy that it takes. And what's fascinating is that it takes that much effort just to get drops in the bucket, right?
Right, right.
And I don't know how anybody feels about this, but I found it really awfully fascinating how when the Israeli government wanted to go bomb the Palestinians, they suddenly found $100 billion or 50 billion, whatever the number was, to go buy their weapons. Or when a lots of people come across the border to Chicago, suddenly the city of Chicago finds all this money to just roll out, to just seemingly roll out the red carpet. Maybe that's propaganda, fake news. I don't know, but I know folks in the hood in Chicago, and they were coming to me repeatedly saying, "What is going on here? Where are they getting all this money?" Right? And so this really leads me to really feel that I'm not really comfortable even considering the political system to be an adequate solution for the black community to be successful. I feel that our people have been trained to become very political, but haven't been adequately trained enough to be economically strong. And I think that our political training comes from the civil rights movement. Even the Black Panther Party is very political. Everything's about politics and justice and equality, which are all wonderful concepts, but the money kind of runs everything in America, it seems. And it's almost like we missed out on the money part. And so it's almost like we know how to drive a car, but we don't know how to buy a car, right? And so so if you think about this, right, I look at this election. Let's go back to the presidential election. I look at your take on this. Uh, Trump won that election because Elon Musk came along with some money. Elon Musk,
Mm.
like him or not, is able to get certain things done because he is a businessman. Trump is a businessman. They aren't really very good politicians. I have no idea what the government's going to look like with them going in there and doing whatever they do. But they got things done because they understand that these things can be bought, these systems can be purchased. And so at the very least, it seems that as a community, given that it's very, very hard for us to get two nickels out of the government for something that we care about, maybe it's better for us to put that energy toward building that wealth ourselves. Because I don't know how to get enough government resources for my family. I just don't know how to do that. But I do know how to go out and hustle and make enough money to take care of them and give them a wonderful life or take them to the next level. Right. So what are your thoughts on that in terms of and you can put into context of what you saw with this election. I think that I don't know. I almost feel like we have so many black politicians and you just don't see that progress in the community. So are we barking up the wrong tree? What do you think?
So I'll go in backwards order. So I'll simply say that, there's a chapter in Dr. Claude Anderson's book, Powernomics, that talks about Black politicians. And it talks about how when they get elected, they forget about the community. They're more about being popular. They're more about getting that money raised so that they can win a popularity contest. Well, I tell people, look, I don't care about a popularity contest. I mean, if you Google me right now, you're gonna see a whole lot of unpopular stuff. And maybe because I am trying my best to work and help out people that look like you and I get all of uh, the mess. So I will simply say that, I do the best that I can. I hate I have to fight my own. I shouldn't have to go to people on the other side of the aisle to make sure that Black folks get Black things for themselves. I like to take my sustainable neighborhoods and turn them into competitive communities like the Powernomics book talks about. But when you have to fight your own sometimes for, like what you said, Dr. Watkins, for crumbs on the table, it is frustrating, especially when you get to the end of the line to where what really frustrated me was we passed the legislation to talk about it. But then when it was time to act on just 5 million, you're absolutely right. 5 million is just a drop in the bucket. But I had to fight my own. And then if anybody looked at the tape on how this fight went, we were fighting over $5 million until 1 in the morning. And it took two conservatives to get it across the finish line because there were three Black commissioners that decided they didn't want to vote on it. But then Dr. Watkins, when it got this vote, the 7 votes, 30 seconds later, the three Black commissioners that didn't want to vote on it decided, oh, we'll go ahead and vote on it now. Well, it's already passed. You all should have been the first ones in line. You didn't have to wait for the conservatives to put it across the finish line. I mean, I appreciate them, but it goes back to what I said. Do I necessarily have to go across the line in order to get things for the Black community? And just like what you said, as far as the election is concerned, I was watching something on TV and it had my congressman on there. And it was titled "The Democratic Party Has Failed Us." And I was like, let me see what type of answers he's going to give. Well, he gave a lot of establishment answers, if the people on this call know what I'm talking about, establishment answers. But the gentleman basically said that, look, you all talked about Trump, said that he wasn't this, that, and the other. But the one thing that made me have my eyes open up real big was they said that, well, you can talk about Trump all day, but Democratic Party, you didn't lose once to Trump. You lost twice. So if he's all these names that you're calling him, what's the Democratic Party then? And I was like,
Mm,
wow.
mm. Well, what I think about in terms of politics is a lot of it comes off as not so much a waste of time. It's clearly important. It clearly matters, but it's just one of those things where it's frustrating for me because I don't see results in terms of the community literally being the same as it was before the election. It's going to be the same 2, 3 years after the election. And I think that there's a point where you have to sort of knock everything down, knock down all your assumptions and start from scratch. Um, I think that a lot of black politicians are cowards, not so much because being a politician makes them a coward. It's that politics will elect the cowards because the cowards will fold and bend over for anybody and anything. Not all of them, not every politician, of course, but many of them are. Many of them, are the kind of spineless rats that they're looking for. If you show up and you say, "No, I'm not spineless. I'm not a rat. I'm not a wimp." Well, they say, "Oh, you got to go. We're going to pick somebody else." So they kind of pick the politicians the same way record labels pick the rappers, right? They pick, if they can search long enough, they'll always find some rapper willing to say anything to be on the record, right? They'll go through 100 of them that say, "No, I'm not doing that." They'll say, "Okay, no problem. Well, you can go now," right? And so what that speaks to is that we don't have that ability to necessarily fund ourselves or to say, "Hey, you know what? I know that I'm the kind of black person that you're going to reject." But I'm still going to be present in the conversation because I come with the type of power that cannot be canceled by your institutions. And I say that because I would put myself in that category. I mean, seriously, give me a yes or no in the chat. If they could have canceled me 10 years ago, don't you think I'd be gone by now? I would not have a platform. Nobody would hear a word from me, whatever. But one of the things that really helped me a lot was I understand money and how to earn it without having to sell my soul, without having to put myself in stupid spaces, etc. And that allows me to say, you could try to cancel me if you want to, but I'm never gonna cancel myself. And you know who really said it in a way that I really liked years ago that I heard when I was 28 years old was actually the rapper E40. Believe it or not. I remember hearing, I kid you not. I heard E40, say that he said, I'ma always be on the record label because I own the record label. I'ma always sign myself. I'ma always bet on me. And so I give him credit. So this is a simple idea. This is not something you don't have to go to school to understand this.
Right.
What you have to go to school for is if you believe in the false illusory magic trick that somehow you can show up with no power, no backing, no nothing, and have a real meaningful seat at the table. It's
Mhm.
very, very difficult to show up and have weight when you have no weight. You weighed negative 20 pounds when you got there, so you ain't gonna be no heavyweight because you haven't done the work to become a heavyweight. You haven't anchored yourself into anything that's gonna give you the ability to withstand those storms that are naturally going to occur. So, what would you say about this, Dr. Ford? I'm gonna lay out the thought
Yes.
experiment. I'd like for you to help me
No.
with this.
Okay.
Barack Obama became president of the United States. In the chat, give me a yes or no if you agree. How many of you feel like Barack Obama was a disappointment? Even if you like him, you feel like maybe what you thought you were going to get wasn't what you got. You got something that wasn't quite what we were expecting. I know I was. I was excited about the dude, and I said, "Oh man, this is whack, right?" Right. So it was a lesson. It was a lesson for all of us. A lot of us were very disappointed by Barack. So Barack is celebrated because he was the first black president. Let's go ahead and give him that. He wasn't African American descendant of slaves, but he's still black enough. Um, so what if instead of becoming president, what if Barack had just stayed, let's say in Chicago or some city, and put the same energy that it took to become president and put that energy into building a successful business that makes $10 million a year, creating jobs for hundreds, if not thousands, of black people, and then maybe running building a black-owned school and hiring black educators to educate tens of thousands of black children. I personally argue that he would be a more relevant asset to the black community than he would by being this figurehead that we just see up on the screen that isn't touching anything or anybody of relevance in the community. I don't know a lot of people whose lives have really changed directly because of his existence. Not to say he hasn't been an inspiration. He certainly is an inspiration. But inspiration is, it's symbolic. Okay, one day I can be president. I don't really want our kids to dream about being president of the United States. I'd rather have our kids dream of running and controlling institutions that give them meaningful and relevant power where they don't have to ask nobody's permission to make a decision. What do you think, Dr. Ford?
That's a lot to unpack, so I'll do the best that I can. So I believe that he would definitely be able to do a lot of things impactful, but I think he would still have the same challenges. Whether it's in DC or whether it's Illinois or wherever the case may be, I tell people, look, the challenges are going to be the same. It may be different folks, but they're going to have the same strokes. So I think he might have been impactful, just like I'm a local elected official. We have a black city mayor, a black county mayor, a majority black commission, a majority black city council. And on the commission side, I see things to where we shouldn't want for anything. It should be, on most cases, 8 to 5, 8 to 5, or 13 to 0. But it doesn't happen that way, just like with the example that we talked about here. So I think that he would be impactful, but I think he would still have the same challenges. They would just be local challenges. Sometimes we're our worst enemy. Your story reminds me of something that happened about a month and a half ago, to where we had $18.6 million that was in ARPA money that we were going to build a mental health facility. And there were two companies. There was a black company and a white company, and they both scored the same. Some of you that are you probably already know how this story is going to end, but I'm going to tell it anyway. They both tied, and the black county mayor wanted the white firm to get the $18.6 million contract. So the first vote, every black commissioner said, no, if it's a tie, we're going to have you go back to the drawing board and come back with something else. So all 8 black commissioners voted no. Then a week later, the black county mayor comes back and says, no, I want the white firm. and we'll add a couple of percentage points on the participation. Goes back to the crumbs that we were talking about, Dr. Watkins. Do you know that 6 out of 8 of those Black commissioners flipped? I don't know what transpired in the back, but the youngest commissioner and myself were the only two that stayed pat and said, no, we are not flipping. So when I see stuff, 18.6 million. So if you take 25% of 18.6 million, you're talking about at minimum minority participation about $4 million. But now you're talking about possibly 2% of $18 million, which is worse. It's just little things like that to where I'm like, wow. So all of us were together showing our strength, but then something transpired to where we gave away our strength as if we were told, hey, you can't be Black today. Okay, well, I'm gonna be Black 100% of the time. And I just simply say, as far as things are concerned, so for the people that are in the room, I appreciate you, Dr. Watkins, for having platforms to where it doesn't matter what the president is, um, financial freedom, financial literacy, financial health, what you show in your platforms is benign to the politics that is going to be around as long as people still have elections to run and everything else, and long after we're gone. So that's my perspective.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. So, Dr. Edmund Ford, I'm gonna lay something else out for you. And by the way, everybody, that's who I'm speaking with, Dr. Edmund Ford Jr. He is an active man out of Memphis, Tennessee, that does a lot of great work with the government there. You said you're on the city council, correct? At one point.
Now, yeah, for 11 years.
Okay, and also, and now you said that you are serving on in what capacity? Remind me, so I don't write that down.
The county commission, Shelby County Board of Commissioners. So I'm on the county government side. I was on the city government side.
Okay, the Shelby County Board of Commissioners. Okay, and this is and you also came to the All Black National Convention, and that's where we had a chance to talk. And you come to several conventions. How many conventions have you come to?
So that was my second one. I couldn't come to the one last year because I'm also VP of financial literacy for an organization called NOBCO, which is the National Organization of Black County Officials. So I ended up getting that role last September at the Congressional Black Caucus event. So we have financial literacy initiatives where we actually, um, that September, we had a collaboration with the New York Stock Exchange, and we made sure that we honored particular people such as Sharon Bowen, who is the first Black and first woman to be the chair of the New York Stock Exchange. I was able to actually go into the chairman's uh, area to where if you ever go in there, you see all these oil paintings and it's nothing but white men. But then you got the sister at the end, and she's already said on record that she's planning on changing the complexion, taking however you want as far as the stock market is concerned. So that was one lady where I'm like, bless you, because the New York Stock Exchange has been around for 232 years. So for a sister to finally be the chair of that organization, I wanted to make sure she got her flowers.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Well, Dr. Ford, I don't know if everyone here knows this or not, but black people are pretty rich. You mentioned somebody who said that black people don't have any business in the stock market. I
Yeah.
beg to differ. In fact, I did a one-on-one today with a student who had well over $1 million in her stock portfolio because she was a consistent saver, consistent investor. She hadn't taken a ton of financial literacy classes. She was just a good saver, and a long time ago started putting a percentage of her paycheck into the stock market. Had a regular job, and she was asking me if she could quit her job, and I said absolutely. You could do whatever you want to do because you've created that life for yourself. And so the reason I also say black people are rich is because the other day I was talking to Brother Nuri Muhammad, and I was telling him all the things that black people could buy if we took our 1.6 trillion, and I wanted to kind of run through some of that, and just to kind of let you all know that don't ever let nobody tell you black people are broke. That 1.6 trillion, did you know with 1.6 trillion we could literally, as a community, if we wanted to, we could buy the entire NBA, NFL, and Major League Baseball combined and still have $1.3 trillion left. So who knows? We're probably spending as much on sneakers and iPhones as it would cost us to buy the NBA and Major League Baseball and the NFL. We could buy every single K through 12 public school, or fund every single K through 12 public school across the country, and still have another $500 billion left. We could purchase if we wanted to the endowments of the 20 wealthiest universities on the planet. That would cost us 300 billion, and we'd still have well over $1 trillion left. We could buy Disney World, Universal Studios, Six Flags, etc. for about 150 billion. That would be a drop in the bucket. The list goes on and on and on. If we wanted to, we could buy Disney, Warner Brothers, Universal Pictures, and a bunch of major studios, and do that for less than $250 billion. So the fact of the matter, the point is that we have enough money to do anything that we want to do. So what we have to work on is not just getting our money up, but getting our mindset up. If we get our mindset up and we start thinking tall, then you're going to do tall things with your money. You think big, you'll do big things. If you think small, you'll do little things. Like you'll blow $1 trillion a year on, sneakers and malt liquor or whatever the hell people spend money on. So, what I would encourage everybody to do, and Dr. Ford, you can feel free to jump in and add to this, is I would encourage everybody to take the time and learn, make financial literacy just an important part of your household. Really make sure it does not take long. It takes about 10 minutes to learn how to invest in the stock market. Believe me, I maybe other people can't explain it that quickly, but I can. It's very easy. Blackwealthmasterplan.com, in case you're curious. Blackwealthmasterplan.com. You'll get started in 5 minutes with $5. Okay, blackwealthmasterplan.com. Also, I think that I was speaking to a young mother who has a daughter that's in college, and she does lashes and fashion. And her daughter was thinking about she had a little business and she was making good money because all the girls want to get their lashes done. And she was going to drop the business so she could go and study and go into criminal justice and become a lawyer. And I said, but does she love that as much as she loves lashes and fashion? And she said, no, but she has to get a job. And I said, no, you want her to do something that she loves and just learn enough about entrepreneurship to make a business out of it. You can make a business out of almost anything. So if our kids are all raised in a culture of entrepreneurship and understand those possibilities, then what happens is they become their own economic gods. They have the ability to develop institutions in their own image that allow them to have economic realities that far exceed what you get when you enter into an institution owned and created by somebody else. So, Dr. Ford, as a person who is the
Mhm.
head, you said NOBCO, the National Organization. Give me NOBCO again.
Yes,
National
NACO is the National Organization of Black County Officials.
Black County Officials. Okay. So tell me, why don't you add to that? What would be something that NOBCO would share with the world in terms of some basic things that we can do, simple things we can do that will really make a big difference in our economic outcomes?
Well, I tell you what, there's a lady, her name is Millie Moto. She's the CEO and the executive director of NABCO. And what she and I stated, because there was not a VP of financial literacy at all. It was actually created because some of the people noticed what I was doing in Memphis, elected and occupationally, and they said, we would love for you to work with Millie in order to create a financial literacy forum. And we've been doing that. I will say that we want to spread our blueprint to where we don't get that many people that join NOBCO because they think that there's nothing really for them. And that's why the financial literacy piece was instilled, because many of the things that you talk about, we actually broaden out to where we discuss credit. We talk about how you can leverage your personal credit in order to get business credit. And I actually perform credit repair, but I tell people, as a matter of fact, there was a lady, I won't mention her name, but I met her at the All Black National Convention, and she ended up asking me if there was supposed to be some credit repair. So, Dr. Watkins, I don't know if you know this or not, but I ended up helping Constance with her session. I went from being her IT support to being her next slide, please person, to being part of the panel. I didn't even know I was going to be part of the panel. They thought that was a surprise person. So that's just one thing that I ended up doing at your convention that we have done, and we've done it in Los Angeles. There's a mental health um, forum called the I Love Myself Festival, and it focuses on Black mental health. So what NOBCO ended up doing was partnering with them, simply saying that there is a correlation with financial health and mental health. So we ended up talking about credit. We ended up talking about stock market. And every time I talk about stock market, I make sure that I give you your flowers, because I always talk about, there's a gentleman named Dr. Boyce Watkins who talks about $5 a day. And I showed them the math. I even tell them about the monkeys throwing darts. And I tell them, if the monkeys can do it, I say, go look at what Dr. Watkins has, and he has a lot of free stuff. Now, I will say this real quick. I will be a quick testimonial. I took one of your classes 7 years ago regarding the stock market, and that was the best thing that I ever did. And I am glad that you are still preaching what you preached 7 years ago, because as I said before, it doesn't matter who the president is when it comes to the market. The market has shown over 90 years that if it goes down, it comes back up. You just got to get in. If you're not getting in, that means you're not on the basketball court shooting the free throws. Like Steph Curry wouldn't have all those threes if he never decided that he was going to do what his father did. LeBron James wouldn't have more than 40,000 points if he never laced those shoes up and went out there and shot the ball. So I just had to give a little testimonial, because I'm one individual that actually took the class, and that class is gold and platinum and everything else, folks. So Dr. Watkins knows what he's talking about. So
Thank you.
as far as NOBCO is concerned, we plan on spreading out the footprint and the blueprint, and we want to help out as many Black organizations. But we also do this. We make sure that those Black elected officials, whether they're clerks or whether they are county commissioners or whatnot, we let them know, hey, there are resources that you need to make sure that your Black populations get. As a matter of fact, I'll go ahead and give you one example. I am working with a gentleman named Eddie Jones. He served on the county commission with me, and now he's the probate court clerk. You know, there's a commercial that they show on TV where if you want to get your will and your trust done, they won't talk to you unless you got $200. Clerk Jones and I are working on a platform to where we have the AI and the IT people working on it, to where the attorneys who need the hours, the pro bono hours in order to keep their law license, we're collaborating with them to where when we go into the libraries and the communities, we want to make sure that the wonderful Black people that are in those communities can get the wills and the trusts and the estates at no cost.
That's good. That's really good.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, I think that you know, like estate planning is something that doesn't get discussed enough.
Mm.
And ultimately I kind of think that a trend that we just all want to pick up on is getting in the habit of getting together with other people that we care about and just having some economic discussions. You guys know every day we get together as a family at 10 a.m. Eastern every morning and we do money in the morning. I don't know, Dr. Ford, if you had a chance to come and hang out with us in the morning.
Oh, I do. I last week I was there 3 times.
Ah, great. I love that. Yeah, man. And I like it because it creates good habits for everybody. I notice habit formation it occurs through repetition, and then before you know it, it's just a part of your routine. And so financial fitness is no different from physical fitness. The more you do it every day, the more it just sinks in, and the easier it becomes. And everybody who's in the morning class, let me know if you're noticing a difference in terms of just understanding things a lot better than before. It starts at 9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Eastern. So that's the time. If you want to get an invitation, if you're not invited yet, just text the word morning to the number 87948. Text morning to 87948. Also, Tony, you asked a question about Prime, the stock options training program, which a lot of you, I know a lot of you love Prime. It's great. I love it. If you, we are going to do a Black Friday discount, so just keep your eyes peeled. I'll reach out to the people in Money in the Morning first and give you the first opportunity to join Prime. If you want to upgrade to a lifetime membership or something like that, you can, and we'll talk about that. But okay, so Dr. Ford, before we get out of here, what's next? What's the next big step in terms of of what you're seeking to do in your career that we should all know about?
So we already talked about the financial literacy with NOPCO. We want to hit more cities, hit more counties. We want more people to know what we're doing. Hopefully, we will have the Wills Trust and Estates platform available this spring. I'll definitely let you know when we do that because we actually had, I don't know if anybody saw on the news where there was a person that tried to basically steal Graceland away from from the
Yeah, I
city of
saw that.
Memphis.
This is
And
crazy.
yeah, but you know, many of us may not have that Elvis money. And that was one of the reasons why I wanted to make sure that many of the people that I see every day, I want to make sure that they can protect and preserve their assets, especially when you have people that are like that trying to get over. And we don't need to have that. We need to uh, protect and preserve our assets any way we can. Our next racial equity ad hoc regarding the $5 million allocation is next week. Again, I'm the chair of that committee, and my good colleague, Brittany Thornton, who's the youngest person on the county commission, she's my vice chair. So anytime I'm not there, she's there, and she does great work. And we also have a lady who comes all the time. Her name is Erica Sugarman. Her father was one of the main attorneys that worked with Dr. King closely. So she has a lineage. And hopefully we will have more results by the time we get to January because they're going to have to come in front of the county commission every 2 months to give the updates. And I want to make sure that the updates are great to where, as I said before, I want a dedicated funding source for these pillars. I don't want this being a one-off. I don't want to leave in 2026. That's when my term is up. Um, I don't want to leave not having that last piece in place. So we all know on this call that $5 million is nowhere close to what is owed. But if there's something that we can put in place, just like I know Robin Rue Simmons, who has First Repair, the first nonprofit that deals with reparations. As a matter of fact, I'll be at that symposium next month in Evanston. I was able to actually help them out with a few things as well because we still got to have that conversation. And I'm glad that she created that portal in order to that platform rather in order to continue the conversation. And I tell people this because people ask me, so what's next? As far as you running for stuff, I tell people this, look, I've done 17 years and I have seen what happens. And I don't mind telling people this. So if you have any desire to go into politics, just know that there is a correlation with the more you help out Black folks, the more they're going to try to come after you. And I'll put it this way. I've had things that have transpired to where there was a incident that happened the day that I was going to have my first reparations conversation, and it was the same day that they were celebrating well, not celebrating, but acknowledging the anniversary of when George Floyd got killed. And then that's when that particular incident happened to me. So I don't think it's a coincidence at all. I think that it was just some people looking at you helping out Black folks a little bit too much. You don't take any nonsense. I don't take any nonsense. I don't care if you're Black, white, male, female, non-binary, whatever case may be. You get the smoke unfiltered, no matter who you are when it comes to me, especially if it deals with Black folks. I have a district that's 91% Black, Dr. Watkins. And I take pride in the people. Those people show up, they show out, and they vote. And I will say that there are some things that I plan on finishing up, and I'll finish up with that. I got a brand new STEM lab coming to the district. I got a brand new YMCA that's getting its last phase. I got a new library and a new community space that's coming. And there's a lot of boxes that the community wanted me to check. And I can say by the time I leave, those boxes will be checked. So I won't have any regrets when I leave in 2026. Now, of course, people want me tell them if I'm going to do something else. I tell them if you've ever seen the movie Godfather 3, right before Al Pacino's character Michael Corleone had his little condition. He said, "When I thought I was out, they pulled me back in." No, if I'm out, I'm out.
Well, you know what? I'm gonna tell you what. I'm out of
You can
politics.
have me for whatever you need for me, Dr. Watkins. So if you need me to do something, I got you.
Well, I appreciate you, man. Thank you. I'm out of politics and I ain't even started yet, so I can't even. I don't. I'm glad somebody does it. I really am, and I'm glad there are people that take the time to, understand everything that's happening and going on. I just look around and I just see all the problems, and I say, come on now, you know, it's going to take aggressive action to fix these things. A very aggressive action, and I think it's going to be a decentralized effort. It's not going to be um, I just think that there's so much hatred against black people in at the governmental level that getting anything passed through is going to require so much compromise that you won't even recognize the legislation by the time it gets done. And I think that this is what we're up against. And so in my view, if you're trying to solve the problem, you look at the resources you have and you stop wishing for the stuff you ain't got. Maybe you're wishing that you had enough political power to do like Elon Musk and go in there and put $1 million a day up and get into the White House and go rob the bank the way he's doing. Because you know what he's going to do. He's going to go in there and get those $1 billion contracts with SpaceX and all that now that he got his guy elected. And maybe one day that's the type of politics we might be able to play. But I think for now, we have enough freedom in this country such that if we just stop falling in love with it being accepted by white people for a little bit and learn how to fall in love with ourselves and fall in love with each other again, I think we can get a lot done. I've gotten so much more done just as a black man doing my best every day that I never would have got done if I was sitting there banging on doors of people that don't even want me around. You know, and I think that to me is deep. It's about seeing your self worth and really making a difference where you can. All of us can go into our family and bring our knowledge, bring our energy, bring our love, bring our mutual support, bring an action plan, bring some discipline. And a family like that can't fail. If everybody in the family is on that same wavelength, you're gonna have some bumps in the road. You're gonna have some setbacks. But all these things that they talk about, these things that are gonna derail us and destroy us, strong, resilient families are able to survive all kinds of storms. I think that just if you just focus on solving the problems that are preventable, things that go wrong where we could have easily prepared for it or avoided it, that goes a long way. And that's why I love, for example, that's why I love the Nation of Islam because um, when I think about, like, for example, what happened to poor George Floyd, who clearly was struggling, he was clearly troubled, and he ended up in a rough situation with a cop, and things ended badly. I don't know a single brother in the Nation of Islam who would have been in that same situation at all. It does not, I'm not making fun of anybody. I'm not saying, oh, somebody deserves it because whatever. But when you build strong, resilient children, you have a strong, solid community. And the children have to be raised to understand that these folks don't like you. They are not your friends. They're not going to be looking out for you. If you don't look out for yourself, so you run around here high and drunk and lost and ignorant and backward and getting just whatever, then yeah, bad things are going to happen to you because you're in a war. And you walk drunk across enemy lines, you're gonna get shot, son. So keep your head on the swivel, boy. That's what I'm telling my son. That I got a 6'9" black man, handsome black man in my house, 21 years old, and that's how we talk. I say this world don't give a damn about you. These girls gonna be looking at you because you got something I ain't never had, which is height. I'm glad I wasn't cursed with your height because I see how the girls look at him, and I say you must be smart and thoughtful about your decisions, man, because the world will suck you into a trap, and then they'll chop your balls off in public, and that's literally how we talk. And so I really just think that as black people, we've got to let go of the fantasy and really embrace the reality. And when you confront the reality and you are as committed to challenging that reality as you are, or rising to the challenge of that reality as you are to all this other stuff we're committed to. For example, if we showed as much discipline for our community as we show toward our black jobs, we would be unstoppable. You give a Negro a black job, we showing up on to work on time. We work all the way till it's time to go home. We're disciplined. We go in when we're sick, right? Think about how disciplined some folks are when it comes to their job. What if we were that disciplined when it came to our community? And what if we were that disciplined when it came to raising our children? What if we were that disciplined when it came to our people? Instead of being so disciplined, that disciplined to serve somebody else, I don't think we could be beat, Dr. Ford. I really do. I think that we have a lot of opportunity. America is a racist country without a doubt, but also America is a country that is not without opportunity. It's also the richest country in the world, at least up until this point. We get our stuff together, I think we win.
We
What do you
do
think?
every time,
That's right. Right on.
every time.
Well, with Dr. Edmund Ford's out here, I know I can't lose because I got some good, solid black men and black women around me, and I just love all of y'all, and I appreciate you and respect you 100%. And also, let's give a shout out also to Dr. Claude Anderson who wrote that amazing book, Powernomics. Next
Yes.
week we're going to start off. We're going to read it. We're going to jump back into his book. His last book, The Black History Reader, we're almost done. And then after that book is done, we got to find something else to read. But we've been reading books every week for about 6 years now. So God bless you guys. And also a couple things. Number one, so this is Dr. Edmund Ford. Dr. Ford, do you have like social media or something where people can follow you and follow up with you?
So my Facebook, all you have to do is just type my name, Edmund Ford Jr. And on Instagram, it's Edmund Ford Jr. all together. So one more time, the Instagram is at Edmund Ford Jr. I need to get back on social media. And on my Facebook is my name.
Okay. All right. And also, Dr. Ford let me see if I say this right. You're the head of
Sure.
financial literacy for the National Organization of Black County Officials. Is that accurate or
Yeah, VP. They got
VP?
me as a VP. Yes.
VP of Financial Literacy. Okay. And also, for those of you that are headed out, just in case you want to know what's going on, this weekend I'll be in Norfolk, Virginia. I'm speaking at the Black Diamond Weekend. It looks like a great organization, a great event. So if you want to pop out, it's blackdiamondweekend.com. That's blackdiamondweekend.com. Number two, some of you are asking where you can get the $5 a day investing plan from the Black Business School, 100% free. Write this URL down. It's somebody type it in the chat because somebody always doesn't catch it on time. It's blackwealthmasterplan.com. That's blackwealthmasterplan.com. Totally free. It'll get you started investing. I want everybody buying stock. You saw what happened after that dang election. That stock market went insane. Dr. Ford, did you see
Mhm.
how much the stock market went up?
So I do Forex as well. So I was in the Sydney session around 5 o'clock p.m. And I ended up texting you and I was saying that every time the electoral was changed in Trump's favor, it kept going up and up
Mm.
and up and up to where if anybody woke up this morning, you would have seen that the Dow Jones was already up 1,300 points,
Yeah.
1,300 points. But all of that action was happening in the Sydney session of the Forex market. So
Okay.
anybody that doesn't know about the Forex market, you got your Sydney session, you got your London session, and you got your New York session. So all of that action was going on way out there where Hong Kong is, Sydney is, to where I was watching it. I was in one of the trades with a gentleman who taught me how to trade Forex, and it just kept going up and up and up and up and up. So um, you got to get into the stock market again. It doesn't matter who the president is. Many of the things that we talk about, they're benign to the politics because the politics is going to be there, but the tools that Dr. Watkins has and all of the knowledge that we have, they can't take it away from us. And it doesn't matter what the politics is. So, oh yeah, I was watching. I was in that. I was in that trade in the Sydney session at 5 p.m. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Nice. I love that. I love that. Yeah, and so the last thing here is for those of you that were asking about Black Friday discounts on Prime and stuff like that. That will happen around Black Friday, so I'll keep you guys posted on that. So I'll see you all tomorrow morning for Monday in the morning, 10 a.m. Eastern. Just text the word morning to the number 87948, or that's morning to 87948, or you can go to b1masterplan.com and sorry, B1, all right, sorry, b1moneytips.com, b1moneytips.com if you want to join the class. I'll see you all tomorrow. Have a good night, everybody. Thank you again, Dr. Ford. Great to see you, brother. And
Thank you for having me.
oh, absolutely, man. I'm glad you came in. And everybody, have a good night. See you later.